Classic EQ, Pultec EQP-1A.
V-Gates, how goes it? I'm Chris Presnell. Welcome to the Mix Repair Guy channel. This video is dedicated to the famous Pultec program equalizer. Its EQ curves give it a smoothness that's great for individual tracks, buses, and even the whole mix. Let's get into it.
History. It all started back in 1953 when Eugene Schenck and W. Oliver Summerlin, two former RCA Institute students, created Pulse Techniques Incorporated. By 1955, they had an idea for an equalizer that they thought had a better design than the few other options at the time. It was a passive design, which meant it would reduce the overall volume by many decibels. In 1956, Eugene and Ollie released the first Pultec EQ, called the EQP-1. It had a fixed frequency high attenuator, selection between 3 low frequencies, and another selection between 5 high frequencies. In 1961, the EQP-1 was replaced by the EQP-1A, which included 1 more low frequency, 2 more high boost frequencies, and a choice of 3 high attenuation frequencies, instead of the fixed frequency of its predecessor. To compensate for the level loss of a purely passive circuit, the EQP-1A added a clean tube amplifier section after the EQ section, as well as an interstage transformer between the two circuits. The tube circuits add harmonics which give the Pultec its popular tonal color. Even when you run the EQ section flat, those tubes and transformers impart a wonderful character to the sound. The EQP has wide, gentle EQ curves and is great for use over an entire mix. Since it doesn't do narrow curves, it's not a surgical EQ, but it's great for sweetening and tightening up a mix. Since its EQ section is passive, it can boost highs without getting harsh, which is also how it earned its reputation as a very smooth EQ. Pultec Controls. The controls on a Pultec can be grouped into 3 sections. The first section is a low-frequency selector, along with separate boost and attenuate knobs. Now, the frequency labels here are pretty useless. As you can see, a boost at 30 Hz can reach frequencies to 800 Hz or more. The attenuate knob at 30 Hz can reach frequencies to 1K or more. The next section is the high-frequency boost section. This group includes a frequency selector, boost knob, as well as Q or bandwidth adjustment. The high boost is a bell curve, with a bandwidth knob to control the span of frequencies affected. The original Pultec had only 5 high boost frequencies, but future versions and many clones and plugins have more EQ points. Just like the low frequency selector, the high boost reaches frequencies well beyond the selected frequency. The final section is the high frequency attenuation. The original EQP-1A consisted of a knob selecting one of 3 frequencies and an attenuation knob. The high attenuation is a shelving band which is good for tackling a shrill or overly bright track. Again, don't pay too much attention to the numbers on the frequency selector because it can reach far below what's labeled. Pultec trick. I'm not crazy about using the word trick, hack, or even secret, especially when you're just talking about a popular setting. The manual for the Pultec says you should not use the low boost at the same time as the low cut. By ignoring that recommendation, engineers found it could do an EQ curve that no other EQ at the time could do. Since the Q and curve shape of the low boost and low attenuation circuits are very different, when you combine them, you get a dip above the selector frequency with a nice shelving boost below the frequency. What that EQ shape does to a track is gives it a tight and solid low end that's not muddy or booming. In presets and videos, I frequently see the low frequency knob set to 30 Hz, especially for electric guitars. I always try to check all the frequencies first, and then set it to taste. Every track is different, and this tip started by people breaking recommendations. Whenever you use a preset in a plugin, or see some settings in a video, you should always try other frequencies before a final decision. Also, always be sure you toggle the bypass button on any plugin while listening back, just to make sure you're not doing more harm than good. Instrument settings. The Pultec is a great EQ for bass guitar. Try starting off with a low boost around 100 Hz, along with a high boost at 3K for pick sound. You can add some low attenuation to tighten up the bottom end, but don't get carried away. Remember that the Pultec boosting at 100 will boost far above that, so the whole low mid-range of the bass gets more attention. On electric guitar, you can start off with 100 Hz for the low frequency, then boost and cut for the Pultec trick. If you then boost the highs at 5K, you'll bring out the presence. Be sure to use a wider cue by setting the bandwidth knob past the 12 o'clock noon setting. It might not hurt to attenuate a bit at the top end, since that's not really useful for guitar and can interfere with other tracks. Vocals are another great use for the Pultec. You can boost at 100 in the lows and at 12K for the highs, with a medium to medium-wide cue, say between 5 and 8 on the bandwidth knob. Then attenuate a small amount using 5K and see what happens.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to tell your friends. Try to learn something new every day and have a great time doing it.